What if I told you that the trillion-dollar electric car industry is currently standing on a foundation of sand? While Tesla was busy building charging stations and BYD was mining half the planet for lithium, a silent giant in Japan was perfecting a technology that doesn't just challenge the electric car, but seeks to make it obsolete overnight. Imagine a machine that doesn't need a plug, doesn't need a 1,000-pound battery, and doesn't poison the earth with toxic mining. Toyota has just unveiled an engine that supposedly runs on the most abundant substance on our planet, plain simple water. This isn't just a new car launch, it is a declaration of war against the status quo and a direct threat to Elon Musk's electric dreams. Stay tuned because the rules of the world are about to change forever. The global automotive landscape is currently witnessing a tectonic shift that no one truly saw coming except perhaps for the visionary engineers tucked away in the high-tech laboratories of Toyota in Japan, where the status quo is never accepted as the final answer. For decades, the world has been conditioned to believe that the only path toward a green future lies in the massive adoption of battery electric vehicles. But just as the electric revolution seemed to reach its peak, Toyota dropped a technological bombshell that has left the entire industry in a state of absolute shock and disbelief. We are talking about a sophisticated internal combustion engine that has been re-engineered to operate on a fuel source that is literally falling from the sky every time it rains water. This bold claim has sent ripples of anxiety through the boardrooms of Silicon Valley and the industrial hubs of China, because if a car can truly zoom around the world using nothing but H2O, then the multi-billion-dollar investment in charging infrastructure and lithium-ion batteries could potentially vanish into thin air. The brilliance of Toyota's approach lies in its sheer simplicity and the elegance of its chemistry through a highly advanced and proprietary process known as onboard electrolysis. This incredible vehicle is designed to split water molecules into their fundamental components of hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen is then funneled into a specially modified engine where it is burned as a high-energy fuel, while the oxygen is either used in the combustion process or released back into the atmosphere. The only byproduct of this entire cycle is pure clean water vapor, which means the car literally breathes life back into the environment instead of choking it with carbon emissions and toxic fumes. This game-changing invention is not just a strategic move for Toyota, it is a ticket to a cleaner and greener future that perfectly aligns with the global push to tackle climate change without the massive environmental baggage that comes with traditional battery production. For years, electric cars have been the undisputed eco-friendly champions, loved for their zero emissions and their ability to be powered by renewable energy. But Toyota's water-powered ride brings something entirely new to the table that threatens the very core of the battery electric vehicle business model. Unlike a Tesla or a BYD that requires hours of being plugged into a grid often powered by coal or gas-burning plants, the water engine runs on a substance we have an infinite supply, and the electrolysis process itself can be powered by integrated solar panels or kinetic energy recovery systems, making it a truly self-sustaining loop of mobility. Furthermore, while the production and eventual disposal of massive lithium batteries pose a significant environmental challenge involving heavy metals and chemical leakage, Toyota's water-powered ride skips that entire nightmare by focusing on a fuel source that is harmless to the touch and vital for all life on Earth. According to Toyota's executive vice president and legendary tech wizard Hideki Nakajima, this is not just an experimental prototype, but the literal future of human travel. He recently revealed at a major industrial event in Japan that Toyota is no longer content with being just a car manufacturer. They want to be a comprehensive mobility company that offers the world 1,000 different ways to move without destroying the planet in the process. Nakajima wasn't alone in this bold declaration, as he was joined on stage by Takahiro Kato, the leader of Toyota's electric division, and Matsumoto Yamagata, the head of the Hydrogen Factory Squad, who are all working in perfect synchronization to ensure that this technology is not just a dream, but a scalable reality that can be mass-produced within the next few years. At the mechanical heart of this miracle is a specialized device called an electrolyzer, which acts as the silent conductor of the water-to-fuel orchestra. This little piece of engineering genius is designed to turn water into hydrogen with a level of efficiency and safety that was previously thought to be impossible in a mobile environment. It doesn't require massive amounts of external energy. And most importantly, it doesn't produce any harmful pollutants or greenhouse gases unlike other hydrogen-powered vehicles that have come before it, which required bulky and heavy high-pressure tanks to hold gaseous hydrogen. This new water-powered car generates its fuel on demand right when the engine needs it, which keeps the entire vehicle light, agile, and incredibly zippy on the road. To make this system work, however, the traditional internal combustion engine had to undergo a radical and total makeover. The fuel injectors, those tiny precision sprayers that feed fuel into the cylinders, had to be completely redesigned to handle the unique properties of hydrogen gas, while the engine block and the cylinder head had to be reinforced with advanced alloys to withstand the serious pressures and thermal spikes of hydrogen combustion. Even the valves and the spark plugs were given a high-tech upgrade to ensure that every explosion inside the cylinder is perfectly timed and safe for long-term operation. We will dig deeper into the granular physics of how this magic happens in the sections to come, but the big win here is that Toyota's water engine beats every other hydrogen motor currently in existence hands down, because storing water is a breeze compared to the dangerous and expensive process of storing pressurized hydrogen gas, which is prone to leaks and requires heavy armored tanks. Water, on the other hand, is a stable liquid that can be held in a simple, lightweight tank without any headaches or safety concerns, making this engine the perfect solution for everything from tiny city commuters to giant cross-country trucks and even massive power plants that provide electricity to entire cities. The simplicity of the water engine, combined with its inherent safety, gives it an unbeatable edge over the current generation of fossil fuel and battery-powered engines, and represents a massive leap toward a future where we can finally ditch oil and cut down on the pollution that has plagued our atmosphere for over a century. But there is a fascinating and somewhat dark twist to this story, because Toyota didn't just dream this up out of thin air. Believe it or not, the idea of a vehicle that runs on water has been floating around the fringes of science and conspiracy theories for decades before Toyota stepped in to legitimize the concept. With their massive resources, other inventors tried and failed to make the world listen to the potential of H2O fuel, and their stories are filled with mystery, fraud, and missed opportunities that have led many to wonder if a grand conspiracy has been working behind the scenes to keep this technology hidden from the public eye for the sake of the trillion-dollar oil industry. But now, with Toyota's massive influence and their reputation for bulletproof reliability, the dream of water-powered travel is finally crossing the bridge from science fiction to street reality, and the world of electric vehicles may never be the same again. The journey toward a water-powered world is not merely a story of modern engineering, but a dark and labyrinthine path paved with the broken dreams of forgotten inventors and the shadows of deep-seated conspiracies that have haunted the automotive industry for over half a century. Because while Toyota is now presenting this technology with the polish of a global superpower, the concept itself has a history that is as explosive as the hydrogen it seeks to harness. To truly understand why Toyota's announcement is so earth-shattering, we must travel back to the late 1980s, when a man named Stanley Meyer became a legendary figure in the underground science community after claiming he had invented a water-powered dune buggy that could travel across the entire United States using nothing but a few gallons of tap water. Meyer's secret weapon was what he called a water fuel cell, which supposedly used a specific frequency of electrical pulses to shatter the molecular bonds of water with almost zero energy input, effectively bypassing the known laws of thermodynamics. According to the legends of the time, Meyer was hailed as a messiah of clean energy, but his story ended in tragedy and mystery when he suddenly collapsed and died outside a restaurant in 1998, shouting that he had been poisoned. While his patents were later ruled as fraudulent in a court of law, the ghost of his invention never truly went away, and it fueled a massive wave of suspicion that the global oil cartels were systematically eliminating anyone who threatened their trillion-dollar empire. This culture of fear and skepticism was only deepened in 2008 when a Japanese company called Genpact grabbed global headlines by showcasing a vehicle that they claimed could run for an hour at 80 kilometers per hour on just 1 liter of any kind of water, including tea or soda. The world watched in awe as the car zoomed around, but the excitement was short-lived because Genpact, like many others before them, failed to provide a transparent scientific peer review and eventually disappeared into the shadows of corporate bankruptcy leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions, and disappointed investors who began to believe that water-powered travel was nothing more than an elaborate high-tech scam designed to harvest venture capital. However, what separates these historical flops from the current Toyota revolution is the fundamental shift from free energy myths to the cold, hard reality of advanced materials science and industrial-scale electrolysis, because Toyota is not claiming to break the laws of physics, but rather to master them through sheer engineering brute force and the utilization of next-generation catalysts that the world has never seen before, while the previous inventors like the Sri Lankan singer Tushara Prayal or the Indonesian man Arianto Mazel made wild claims about driving hundreds of kilometers on a single liter of water without providing any proof. Toyota is backing its water engine with over 5,000 patents and a transparent roadmap that involves a global network of hydrogen production facilities. The core problem that defeated every inventor from the 1980s to the 2000s was the energy balance equation, because splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen usually takes more energy than you get back when you burn the hydrogen, which makes the whole process a losing game in terms of efficiency. But Toyota has solved this energy trap by integrating the electrolysis unit directly into a hybrid ecosystem where wasted kinetic energy from braking and solar energy from the car's roof are recycled to provide this spark for the molecular split, effectively making the energy required for the process essentially free to the driver. This is the missing link that Stanley Meyer and the others could never find, because they were looking for a magical frequency, while Toyota was looking at a total system integration that treats the car as a self-sustaining power plant. The skepticism of the scientific community, which was once aimed at fraudsters, is now turning into a sense of profound curiosity as Toyota reveals the nitty-gritty details of their engine makeover, which includes reinforced engine blocks made from high-strength composites that can handle the violent and rapid combustion of hydrogen, which burns significantly faster and hotter than traditional gasoline. The engineering team has also developed a proprietary line of fuel injectors that utilize ceramic coatings to prevent the hydrogen embrittlement that usually destroys metal parts over time, and they have perfected a system of sensors that monitor the hydrogen-to-oxygen ratio in real time with millisecond precision to prevent any accidental backfires or explosions. This level of safety and durability is something that a lone inventor in a garage could never achieve, no matter how brilliant they were, and it is why the world is finally taking the water engine seriously, because when a company with the resources of Toyota says they have solved the storage and production problem, the fossil fuel industry and the battery titans like Tesla must face the reality that their era of dominance is being challenged by a liquid that is literally everywhere on Earth. Furthermore, Toyota is addressing the psychological barrier of the conspiracy theory by being more open about their partnerships with companies like Mitsubishi and the Toyota Tsusho Corporation to build a global supply chain that doesn't just rely on the car itself, but on a hydrogen society, where water-powered generators can provide electricity for homes and data centers during the hours the car is not in use. This vision of a decentralized energy grid, where every garage is a refueling station and every car is a power provider, is a direct threat to the centralized control of oil companies and the power monopolies of the national grids, which is exactly why the narrative of the suppressed water car has persisted for so long, because the potential for human independence is so high that the existing power structures have every reason to fear it. But Toyota's massive cultural and economic influence acts as a shield against the kind of squashing that smaller inventors faced in the past, because you cannot simply disappear the world's largest automaker without causing a global economic collapse. This shift in the balance of power means that we are now entering a post-battery era where the environmental cost of mining lithium and the logistical nightmare of hours-long charging are being replaced by the 5-minute refill of a water tank and the zero-emission exhalation of oxygen-rich vapor, which is the ultimate breath of fresh air for a planet that has been choking on its own progress for far too long. As we move into the final section of this saga, we will examine the geopolitical fallout of this invention and how the rise of the water engine might signal the end of the lithium wars and the beginning of a truly infinite era of human mobility. The arrival of the Toyota water-to-hydrogen revolution does not exist in a vacuum, but is instead the opening salvo in a massive geopolitical chess game that will define the winners and losers of the 21st century as we move toward the year 2030, because the current dominance of the battery electric vehicle is deeply tied to a supply chain that is almost entirely controlled by a single global power, which has forced Western nations and traditional automotive giants into a state of strategic vulnerability, while Elon Musk's Tesla has successfully built a cultural phenomenon around the plug-in lifestyle. The cold reality is that the world's power grids and the massive demand for lithium are creating a bottleneck that might lead to an industrial dead end. This is why Toyota's pivot toward the hydrogen combustion engine and the ammonia-powered motor is such a calculated stroke of genius. It allows the automotive world to retain its century of mechanical expertise while transitioning to a fuel source that can be harvested from the air and water of any nation on Earth, effectively breaking the monopoly of the battery minerals market and the crushing influence of the lithium cartels. We are currently witnessing a historic clash of philosophies where China has bet its entire industrial future on the mass production of affordable battery electrics under the banner of companies like BYD, which has recently overtaken Tesla in global volume, while Toyota is playing a much longer and more complex game by positioning itself as the leader of a multi-pathway future that includes everything from solid-state batteries to synthetic hydrocarbons and hydrogen-burning V8 engines that sound and feel like the legendary machines of the past, but breathe out nothing but life-sustaining vapor. The irony of this situation is that the very critics who once labeled Toyota as a laggard in the green revolution are now realizing that the Japanese giant was actually building a fortress of diversified energy that can survive a world where charging points are scarce and lithium prices are skyrocketing with the upcoming launch of their new hydrogen factory in 2024 and the full commercialization of liquid hydrogen tanks for heavy-duty trucks by 2026. Toyota is proving that the future of travel is not a monolithic electric highway, but a diverse ecosystem where water-powered engines play the role of the ultimate equalizer for those who refuse to be tethered to a cable for hours. This technological explosion is also creating a massive ripple effect in the commercial sector, where the weight and charging time of batteries have always been the primary obstacles for long-haul logistics and heavy shipping. By proving that a hydrogen-burning engine can match the power output of a traditional diesel motor with 90% fewer emissions and zero carbon output, Toyota has essentially handed a lifeline to the global trucking and maritime industries, allowing them to survive the coming wave of environmental regulations without going bankrupt from the cost of massive battery arrays that reduce their cargo capacity. The strategic partnerships between Toyota and other industrial leaders like GAC and Mitsubishi are creating a standardized global framework for hydrogen and ammonia storage that could eventually see gas stations transformed into water processing hubs where your car is refueled as quickly as it was in the 20th century, but with a fuel source that is truly infinite and clean. This is the ultimate endgame for Toyota to move beyond being a mere manufacturer of steel and glass and becoming the central architect of a hydrogen-based society where mobility is a human right that is no longer dependent on the destruction of the earth or the control of rare minerals. As we stand on the brink of this new era, the question for the viewer is no longer whether electric cars are good or bad, but whether you are ready to embrace a world where the water in your tap is the same energy that moves your family across the continent. This saga of the water engine and the hydrogen revolution is a reminder that human ingenuity is never finished, and that the greatest breakthroughs often come from the most unexpected places. So, as the dust settles on the battery wars and the liquid revolution begins to rise, we invite you to stay curious, stay informed, and join us as we continue to track every pulse of this mechanical miracle. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because the future is not just coming, it is being written in water, and you won't want to miss a single drop of what happens next.